Okay, in this video I'm going to be talking about the internal assessment in economics, the portfolio, and I'm going to be linking it with talk with the theory of knowledge, hopefully to open the higher bandwidth mark scheme for you when you're writing your commentary. Okay, so this is the portfolio. We've talked about it in class a little bit, and I'll go over it probably in the next video. I'll go over it in the next video. Right now I want to talk to you about how TOK, theory of knowledge, talk can help you with writing the commentary. So have a look at this commentary at 2 times normal speed. I speak quite slowly, so this will help speed up the process. You should still be able to understand me. Okay. So the IB says that economics is a social science. Okay. You have to write as an economist, as a social science. Therefore, you need a theory of knowledge to help you. Okay, I'll just go over that again. So it says in the syllabus, economics is a social science. There are a bunch of different ways that we can study economics, but the IB's having us study economics as a social science. And so we have to write as a scientist, a social scientist, and that has implications for your commentary. And this is where theory of knowledge can help you with that. Okay. So moving on. So economics is a social science. The key here is that it uses science, uses concepts to explain events in the economy. That's what we're doing. We're looking at concepts like demand and supply, and we're using these concepts to explain what's going on in the economy. And you've got a news article, and you've got some sort of economic event that's happening in the economy, and you're using economic concepts to try to explain, to make a comment on what's going on. The commentary is an assessment, and it's an examination, and it's testing your ability to use economic concepts. So, hey, where do those concepts come from? So the concepts are a form of deductive logic. You probably didn't know that, but again, this is theory of knowledge. It's we don't understand until we can define and until we can explain. That's what we do as scientists. So let's just go into a little bit into the nature of a concept. I know this is pretty theoretical out there, but concepts are ideas, and they are a form of deductive logic. There's 2 kinds of logic. There's deductive logic and inductive logic. And just in the very simple way of thinking about it is that we can build understanding. We build concepts using deductive logic. And when we go to apply these concepts to the real world to interpret things for us, we use it inductively. Yeah, that's a very simple way, a very handy way to think about logic and concepts. So concepts are constructed. They're all constructed in a similar way. They start with an assumed truth. Something is assumed to be true. And then based on that truth, there are other ideas that follow from that. So those are the cornerstones. Every concept is built in similar. This is how people understand. This is how logic works. It's important when you're creating a concept that you impose boundaries on the concepts, because they are intellectual constructions, and in certain cases they will be true, and in certain cases they won't be true. I don't want to go into it a lot, but if you're working in chemistry and the physical sciences, that idea is probably a little bit dodgy, because truth is truth, and experiments and demonstrate the truth of a proposition. There is no need for constraints or boundaries on theories in chemistry and whatnot, but in the social sciences, yes, there are, because people are complex and we have all sorts of problems. Hopefully we'll get into that later. But just to let's go over it again. There's the concepts, form of deductive logic. They start with an assumed truth. They build on this truth with ideas that follow. And in order for these things to be true, there has to be constraints or boundaries on the concept in order for truth to exist. Okay. An example. We talk about demand in class. We've done a lot of work with the demand. So one of the things we haven't really talked about too much is the nature of demand. Okay, so when we're going to, back in the good old days, 1850s, when the economists were first, conceptualizing this demand, they assumed that demand was somehow a force. Okay, so I can imagine that. I mean, it's a demand and supply are forces in the marketplace. Okay, that's a big swallow. But what follows from that assumed truth is that what gives this meaning, the idea that it's a force in the marketplace, is that there are people out there that want things, okay? There are people out there that have the ability to buy things, okay? And there are people actively looking to buy things. And if these conditions are true, then demand exists. Okay, that's kind of how this works. These are constraints. These are the constraints or limitations put on the condition, the concept of demand, in order for it to be true. Okay, so if those are true, if those are in place, then logically, demand exists. That's kind of how it works. Okay, it's just one example. We can talk about that later. Okay, so TOK says scientists know stuff because of sense, perception, reason. Or experience and logic. Sense, perception, logic. Those are, I shouldn't have said scientists here, but science. Science knows stuff because of sense, perception, and reason. Scientists, the people, they know things through faith, emotion, intuition, language, all the other rules. But science, not so much. Okay, so experience and logic are how we know things in economics and in social sciences, in science. Okay. So the important thing here, is that concepts have to be subject to experience and reason before scientists know that they are true. So we've got to be able to go out into the world. We've got to be able to test our concepts. We've got to look at the logic of them, look at their assumptions, look at the boundaries. We've got to test them in order to know whether they're true or not. And theoretically, if we use experiments to create evidence, and we take measurements, and we apply logic, theoretically this results in proof. Okay, except in social sciences, and it doesn't. Okay, so there's a but here. So there's always a but. Society and people are way too complex for truth to be established beyond a doubt. It's just there's too many things going on at the same time. It's not a controlled experiment. We can't prove anything. This does not mean that we throw out social science or think poorly upon ourselves as social scientists. No, it just means that critical thinking is really, 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 really necessary in economics. It's really necessary. Okay, it's we have to critically think because we can't prove anything, and it's just the strength of our reasoning and our logic and our application of these principles to reality that we know what's true. So, theory and knowledge can help you provide this special understanding of critical thinking, this ability to look at theories, concepts, models as these intellectual constructions and think about them in a critical way. This can help boost your commentary into the higher category. Okay, because what it's all about is critical thinking, and why is critical thinking important is because the social sciences we can't really prove anything, so we really have to think carefully about what we're saying, how we're using our concepts, and how we're applying them. That's what the IB is looking for. They really want to see that. They want to see critical thinking in your commentary. That means that you can check your assumptions. You can look at the assumptions that the concepts are based on to see the extent that they are that are true or not in a given situation. You can look at the constraints on the theories that give them truth, and what's left out. What's the boundaries. Some things are outside the theory. The theory doesn't address them, and some things are in. So what's left out? And these are things that are really important because they make a difference in the in the circumstance that you're looking at. So with this in mind, we are scientists. Okay, well, this is really important. We are scientists. And we're going to look at the Marx scheme for the IA, for the commentary, and we're going to see how the Marx scheme and theory of knowledge work together to make you think critically about economic events. Really, really important.